Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Cooper and Cooperville Live for Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021. Excited for today's show. Kyle Woodman, he is running for Eau Claire City Council, Eau Claire, Wisconsin City Council. He's going to be joining the program here in just a bit. Probably noticed it's a little different vantage point today. The sound quality isn't quite as good. It's Wednesday where you are, yes. I've been talking about this. I'm like, at some point, my computer is going to decide that today just isn't the day. Yeah, see, it's Wednesday for you. Today happened to be that day, and it said, we would like to restart your computer, and it's been restarting now for approximately the last, I don't know, about 45 minutes. It's a slow process, but we are going to do the best that we can, given the technologies that we have set forth before us. So, but like I said, Kyle Woodman's going to be joining us here coming up in under 10 minutes. Huge thank you. We had a great show yesterday, big explosion on our YouTube channel. So wherever you're watching, if you're on YouTube, like WS is, or you're on Twitch, or you're on Facebook. I see we got the Facebook viewers piling up here. Thank you. Please make sure you follow the channel, whichever it is that you're on, and then you'll get notified every time we decide to try to go back live again. But we're doing iPad today instead of the laptop because, again, the laptop decided today wasn't going to be the day. But we'll get that all figured out as I'm over here, like, paying attention to it. It's like, would you like to do this? Like, no, I just want you to work. That's all. So there may come a point in the show where we end up switching back into back to the other equipment. But until then, we'll do what we can do on here. Joe, my buddy Joe, is on. Again, you can always join the conversation in the comment section, so please feel free to do so. Joe, my buddy, watching on the Twitch, appreciate that. Twitch viewership is growing as well. But no, it was a fantastic show yesterday that we had. A lot of great guests that we had on. We had my buddy Kyle from Blacklight District. He was on, and it was really great to talk to him. I know he had just kind of been going through some stuff over the last several months. But great to talk to him, and he's got just huge things coming up here over the next several weeks. I believe he said like 4 to 6 weeks we can expect new music from Blacklight District. So we're going to get be getting some new tunage from him. It was great stuff. Dr. J LaGuardia was on yesterday. Lots of talk about health and wellness and morning routines and stuff. And the biggest takeaway is, as I do go back and listen to these after at night after the show is done, and it's really about this quercetin thing, this chemical in your body that really does tend to accentuate itself when you are living in a state of constant fear. And a lot of people that are living through that right now, it's always good to get his insight, different ways as far as meditation, intention, affirmations, all that kind of stuff. Dr. J has always got a great insight on that. And I do highly recommend you going and checking out his podcast. It is called Triple P Nation, the Power, Passion, Prosperity podcast, available on all platforms. Go and check out Dr. J's stuff. He's got good stuff. Got to go. Phone ran out of battery. Hey, I hear you. My computer decided today is the day it wanted to die. So, we're just going to be here making the best of it. We may have to cut things short after we get done chatting with Kyle, but we'll get things all dialed in and ready to go for the rest of today, and then for tomorrow. Tomorrow we got a big show coming up as Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Wickman is going to be on the program tomorrow. So excited to talk to him. He sent me some great topics that we're going to discuss and some things that I think will, really help get people more involved. Everybody's thinking like, oh, we just did the election. There's actually, today is an election day, spring primary, I believe. So we got that going on tomorrow. Also, Rachel Loren is going to be on tomorrow, joining us. I think she's back out in New York now. I don't know. I saw some video and it looked like she was, maybe it was raining wherever she was. So will get Rachel on the program coming up tomorrow. So a big show planned for tomorrow. But Kyle Woodman, again, going to be joining us here in just a couple minutes. We will get him on, and we will. No, look at that. It's like you say his name often enough, and boom, he shows up. He's got the sign up behind him. This man is ready to go.
What the heck? Were you talking about me or what?
I'm like, Kyle Woodman's like Beetlejuice. You say his name 3 times, and he shows up on the show, just like that.
Can you hear me pretty good, or?
Yeah, you sound good, man.
Good.
How are things, man?
Things are going pretty good. Been busy, knocking on doors in the cold, going to events. I saw you the other night, at that event there. Can I make this big screen or what? How do I do this? Let's see. Is that the bigger it is? Oh, okay. All right. So what were you thinking?
Well, we already got people jumping on the stream. Don Hakes saying, my man Kyle.
Hey, my man Kyle. Yeah, I shared the link. I kind of did a blast real quick. Shared it on Facebook and tried to get some people on.
No, I appreciate it. A lot of people want to talk about a lot of things that are going on.
No kidding.
In our community, especially. Like I said, you and I actually kind of offhandedly met a couple of weeks ago, standing outside of the Eau Claire County Courthouse.
We did.
As the city council was getting prepared to, as we learned later, to unanimously pass the mask mandate in the county. And I had a chance at that point, you were talking to Kyle Hughes, who's been on this show several times. Just kind of about the state of things and keeping action moving forward. And you're running for city council. That vote is coming up in April. You're out on the streets, and you're talking to people. You were talking to that crowd that was there that night. What kind of feedback are you getting about that? Really, people's feeling about the state of things at least in the county.
Well, I will say this, that people do want to be safe, and I've talked to a lot of Democrats, Republicans, people from both sides, and I think it's safe to say that a lot of people don't disagree with wearing a mask if they feel that it keeps them safer. But I don't think very many people like our local government enforcing a mask mandate and fining people $200 for not wearing a mask. Well, I feel like they say, hey, if I want to wear a mask, I'll wear one. But if I don't want to, leave me alone kind of thing. And, we all have people in our families that, well, I mean, maybe not everyone, but I know I do. I have people that have had long issues in the past and, pre-existing conditions, and they are cautious and they stay home if they feel like they're at risk, or they wear a mask. I don't have a problem with that. But it's when the state government and the local government starts mandating what we wear. And I think that's just overstepping the boundaries. And I also just don't think it's necessary anyways, if you look at the numbers. So
it feels like, and this goes both for the city and the county, in Eau Claire, both unanimously voting for something, yet, from obviously your perspective and the perspective of many of the people that you've spoken to, people that come out and, brave the elements, the chilly elements. It was a cool night. I'm glad what we've had recently when we were all out there, but it feels like a lot of the voice of the people is either not being heard or it's falling on deaf ears. Is that would that be your perspective too? That,
oh my word, I remember before it was that Tuesday that they voted unanimously to pass this ordinance, is what it is. It's an ordinance. It's not a mandate. It's not a law. It's an ordinance. But I remember I think it was WQOW did the a poll, and people voted, and I think it was at like 63% of the people said they were not in favor of the mandate, and then the rest were either unsure or were in favor. The vote numbers are pretty high. It was like 6,000 people or 7,000 people, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was a lot of people that voted in that poll, and I think that'd be a pretty good test sample of the way people are feeling out there. And sure enough, Tuesday night comes, and no surprise to me, but of course the Eau Claire City Council voted unanimously against the will of the people, and not in favor. I mean, they don't represent the people of the city. I mean, obviously, and apparently they don't even care. So, I mean, I would rather vote in favor of what the people want, even if it goes against some of my own personal beliefs. I'm not there to push my own personal beliefs on anyone. You're there to represent the people and run the city. So, I mean, let's do that. It's not, for me, it's not really that complicated, but apparently, our current representation forgot about the representation part. So,
yeah, it feels like, and you are, like I said, you're out, you're knocking on doors, you're talking to, your future constituents of the city, and getting, the pulse of the people. And it feels like there's, and whether that's being blamed on, well, it's COVID and I don't want to go out, or it's too cold, I don't want to go out. It feels like there's not many others are out there who currently, have seats on, the city council. They're not hearing the people's voices, and when they are, and we were both witness to it, and all of those who spoke,
right,
virtually at that
right. I don't think, you're right. I don't think they are listening to the people. I think they may be listening to their own. They may have a corner of, they have their people that are kind of in their circle of, whatever that they're listening to, but. Like you said, I mean, when I go to a door, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, I am asking them the question. It's one of the things that I ask, because it is a hot topic. I say, hey, do you approve or disapprove of the mask mandate? And some of them said, well, what do you approve of? And I said, well, does that really matter if I approve of it? I'm wondering if you approve of it, because I'm going to be representing you when I get there. So then that kind of gets the conversation started, And like I said, I mean, I'm going to say probably 65% of the people really are not. They don't like the feel. They just don't like where it's going. You know what I'm saying? So
right. And I think you made a great statement here that I want to make sure is, that people hear, is that you're not telling people not to wear a mask. If there's something comfortable and that makes them feel more secure, that's really not the issue that's at hand here, and that's not really the hot button issue. It's the the forcibly mandating, telling people that if you don't wear one you could be fined. Obviously the effect that it has on small businesses, which I know you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. All the effects that it has outside of it's your personal preference. Like, if you feel like you want to wear one, it makes you feel better, great. But it is not necessarily the choice of people who not even sitting around a table, because everybody at that meeting was probably on a Zoom call somewhere, but Zoom conference, listening to the people speak out. But
I'm not sure if they were or not. I don't know if they were in there or not, but
yeah, I think it was all a ploy. It's all smoke and mirrors, Kyle. It's all smoke and mirrors. But no, I think that the point is that you should be able to make your own independent choice, and it should not be forced upon you. It's one of those, I don't know, constitutional things, right?
Yeah.
Rights.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't think we need an ordinance passed forcing everyone to wear masks. I say my official stance on it is let the people choose. If the people want to wear a mask, that's their choice. If they don't want to wear a mask, they do. But I just don't think it's the place of the Eau Claire City Council or the health department necessarily to go around and make everyone wear a mask. A person's health is their own individual responsibility. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. If they feel like they're at risk, they can stay home. If someone else wants to go out and take that risk, if I'm feeling risky or ambitious, maybe I can go out and take the risk, right? That's my choice. So
I want to take you back. We'll come back to this topic. I'm sure we'll circle back to it, but I want to talk about getting into, politics. Was there was it a young age that it started? Maybe a certain individual was in politics that you kind of were like, oh, I could see myself doing this. Like what path leads you? Because that's sometimes that's the argument about why in some positions we have questionable people in power, because you know young people, energetic people are like, yeah, I'd rather go off and you know start my own rocket ship company or do something else. And people that could be
Well,
in.
funny enough, this I'm actually older than people think. I'm 35, so
Well, you must
so
hide. Oh, you look younger, but like
thank you. Awesome.
what what leads you into into politics? I know you also did some campaigning during this last election period.
Yeah,
Obviously, council. I feel like city council for you is a start of something much bigger. But what leads you down this path? And
it could be. Yeah. Well, basically, it started. I did construction work for probably 11, 12 years. And when you're doing construction work, to be specific, I was a heavy equipment operator. So I ran bulldozer, backhoe, all the big Caterpillar equipment. And when you're doing that, a lot of the time you're sitting there in a front end loader or something, and you're listening to the radio or something like that. And so I was like, wow, I should make good use of my time. So I listened to podcasts and radio shows and things like that. And I'm not going to say who I listened to.
so,
But anyways, so that's what kind of started the spark, of the interest of, hey, there's a lot going on that a lot of people don't really even know in a lot of cases. And of course, we've seen in the last couple of years how things have gotten to be a lot more, inflamed, like, politically.
yeah.
But maybe 10 years ago, it was just kind of like, oh, hey, whatever. It wasn't as bad as it was today, I'll just say. So, and then I ended up getting married to my wife, Crystal, and I love her a lot. And then we got 2 little boys, and then I started my business, and just pursuing my own personal American dream, starting a family and just enjoying my time as a father. And the most recent couple of years, 3 years, I've just really felt the calling to do something more than just live my life and pay my taxes and just do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, watching my little boys grow up, even though they're only 2.5, the oldest one's 2.5 years old, is just a blessing beyond anything. And I want nothing more than for my children to grow up in an environment filled with freedom. And that's just what's really, pricked my heart to do more for my country than what I've done in the past. And, I've just promised to myself and to my boys to stand up against tyranny, all forms of tyranny, just not for them, but for you, for me, for our children, for our grandchildren. And I just feel like we're at a turning point in our country right now. And I think that for America, it's now or never. It's now or never, man. So I'm not perfect. I'm not anything special, but I'm just going to do everything I can. I'm not going to carry on with my life and not do everything that I can to fight for America and for freedom. So it's kind of where I'm at with it.
I think we need, depending on what you listen to, and I'm not here to judge your podcast preferences. It's cool.
Okay.
So
I wasn't listening to you, I guess, so that's why I felt bad.
That's you probably ended up in a much better spot because.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, but I think if you, depending on what you do listen to, but there is I try to fill a lot of. I try to fill myself with a lot of information. I try to get both sides of the story. That's becoming more challenging, I think, now. But if you know certain outlets or certain podcast hosts, I think there's some great ones that are out there to listen to. But I think what you're hearing now in the wake of the last presidential election is not that it's right now a time to to take a break or to stand back from, you know, getting more involved, because what the narrative is becoming, at least on I want to say on the right, but you know, a more conservative leaning uh, stations or more conservative leaning podcasts or news outlets, is that it starts at the city level.
Right.
You have to build there, and then you go, you know, you look at county, you look at gubernatorial races. We have one of those coming up in 2022. I have Jonathan Wickman's going to be on this program tomorrow. We're going to talk about,
Oh, really?
kind
Okay.
of what he's looking at for running for the governor of Wisconsin. But it there's not a 4-year break and we're like, oh, you're cool, we just take some time off and we just, fall under the policies of whatever's coming down upon us for the next 4 years. This is where it begins. You're in an election, not 5 months removed from, the presidential election. This is where it all begins. And I'm sure that the reaction that you get when you're out on the street and talking to people, hopefully that energy is still there, that we need to.
And some of them are like, what are you doing? It's like,
We're done.
exactly. And I'm like, I'm running for city council.
Right.
This is important. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, well, I'm sure you've gathered that I'm obviously way more leaning right than left, and I feel like this is where the right has maybe dropped the ball a little bit, whereas the people on the left and have been on top of their game for the last maybe 25, 30 years. And a lot of the clerks, a lot of the school board, the county board, they're all more either independent or left leaning individuals. And I feel like it's out of balance. So, and one indication of that is simple. You just look at the way people vote, the way our representatives vote. And if they're all voting, if they're all agreeing completely on everything, that either means they're having really good ideas, or they're all just agreeing on everything, which it could be a red flag, if you know what I'm saying. So sometimes they're good ideas we all agree with, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing. That might be
Right.
good. That might be a good thing, but when you're looking at a period of years and years and years where everyone's voting exactly the same way, and that means I don't know. I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. You should have, and this at every level should be the case. And even no matter what side of the aisle you happen to be on,
Lively discussion. Yeah, you need to have. Yeah.
Without conversation and debate, you don't get any progress. You kind of end up just floating along, on the same path. And what you've seen a lot of on a local level, on a state level. Luckily statewide, we have had some pushback from the Republican House and Senate.
Yeah.
But then you see we've seen what happens when they try to push things through. That 19 minutes later, it's
order. There you go.
Like wait, didn't Stalin do the same thing? I'm not to make that direct reference, but I think the fact that you are seeing a lot of on a local level, when you have a unanimous vote for anything that could be considered a controversial topic. The reason it's controversial is the fact that there's differing opinions on it. And if everybody that's supposedly, in the club that makes the call is all voting one way, that means the voice of the other side is not being represented, is not being, having their voice spoken inside of those, those closed door meetings, right. That's just not the way government is supposed to run.
Of course, I'm being really nice with how I said that,
Yeah.
But trying to be super nice, but especially because I know that I've been out talking to people, and I know that there's a certain segment of the people that are not being represented. And even if, I would hope that even if there was only 10% of the people that felt one way, then there's 90% that felt the other way. Wouldn't it be nice to have one person on the city council to represent those 10%, and then 9 people to represent the other 90%, at least have equal representation.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a scary situation to be in when you have unanimous votes on anything. And I think that was a big eye opener for me coming out there. And what I really took away from not just that vote. Obviously the county, or the city and the county, both voting in one direction unanimously.
Mm-hmm.
But guys like you and guys like Kyle Yudes, who are out there, and these groups that are forming. And I've had Kyle on the show a couple of times now, and the growth of those groups and the energy behind them, and the people that are getting involved in those groups to educate themselves, which is huge. You never want to blindly go into a conversation, argument, but that is, I think, one of the biggest signs that there's still momentum out there, is the fact that these groups that are not just the one that's here locally, they're all tied into a network,
Right.
statewide, that are regional, that are around the country, that are starting to get together, have conversation, and push for some change.
Right. Yeah. There's people all over the state that are unhappy with what's going on, and like you said, they're getting together, they're forming groups, and they're starting to find one another. And it's very telling when you have a group on Facebook that has thousands of people on there
Mm.
that they're feeling a certain way, and there is absolutely no representation for them at all, whether it's city council, county board, all the way up. And if they do have representation, those people that speak up for them are just shot down or censored immediately. So it's definitely a very interesting time to live in. And I think it was not long ago, the Senate and the House, or not the House, but the Assembly and the Senate shot down the mask mandate or something,
Mm.
I think. And then Tony Evers just, by executive order, just started a new one. So it's like it almost doesn't matter, even if we did have the people to represent us and to voice their opinions, or even take votes and pass laws legitimately. We have a governor that just signs an executive order and whatever he wants. It sounds like a king to me. It doesn't sound like a democracy. Like,
Right.
I remember it wasn't too long ago, all the Democrats were talking about democracy, 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 and then all of a sudden, whoops, it's just everything is by executive order. So
Right. Yeah. That's
more democracy. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a scary thought. And I think if people took a look at that, and maybe it's not necessarily on this issue, because you are going to have people who are like, yes, I think mask mandates are important and we need to have them, because everybody that's not a toddler needs to be treated like a toddler, because we can't handle ourselves. I get that there's people out there, but imagine, and this I talked about this when in reference to cancel culture as well, is it seems okay if it's your guy that's making the call, but if there another scenario comes up, another situation arises where you are the one that, say, has control of the assembly, and they are voting in your best interest to say, hey, wait a second, this isn't okay, and then a governor or somebody who's not maybe your guy overturns that, you go, wait a minute, I'm not being wait a minute, this isn't how it's supposed to work. You hope that signals a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, like, wait, this isn't exactly how it's supposed to operate. The reason that we vote for these people, I see your buddies with Jesse James. He's a great friend of mine.
Yes. Yeah, I know James. Yep.
So, but you put these people in those places to be the voice of the people,
Mm-hmm.
and the voice of the people speaks through them, and then the guy with the bigger pen apparently gets to say, well, no, I'm just gonna forget what the people said.
I would rather not have executive orders at all. I mean, I guess that's something that our founding fathers had put in, part of everything, but if I was the governor, I would rather not do that. I would rather everyone come to an agreement on something and pass laws legitimately.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it seems like the divide is becoming more and more as time goes on, and there's just no reaching across the aisle on anything. It's a sad time.
Yeah. I mean, there's the backhanded calls for unity. Like,
right.
We need to unify it, but first, before we
the City Council of Eau Claire is unified.
see that.
Tell you that. That's for sure.
So we're about what are we 6 weeks or so away from the election for city council for your seat coming up on April 6th. Like, what does the next several weeks have in store for you? As far as, is it more knocking on doors? Do you have events planned? Like, what's your path for the next several?
Some of the things that I'm going to be doing is knocking on doors and making phone calls, and I'm also going to be mailing out some mailers, they call it,
Mhm.
and mailing out some of those to the people in my district and reminding people to get out and vote. But one thing to think about too is there's that primary election for
Yep.
the Wisconsin school superintendent, and once those results are certified, they'll be printing out the ballots for my election on April 6th, and they could possibly mail out those ballots maybe even in the first week of March.
Hmm.
People could be voting absentee first week of March. So we may think that, oh, it's, April 6th, but if we want anyone to vote for me or anyone,
Hmm.
we kind of got to get the word out pretty fast within the next couple of weeks, because people don't know who you are. They're not going to vote for you. So I probably will have an event. I had an event a few weeks ago, and quite a few people came. And I'll probably have one more event, I'm thinking, on March 19th. So you'll be invited if you want to come. And that'll be kind of like my last hurrah and, get out the vote event, kind of thing. And then after that, it's just going to be probably pedal to the metal and reach as many voters as I can in the last 2 weeks before election day. So I hope that I get on there, and even if it's 9 votes against 1, I'm fine with that as long as I'm representing my district.
Hmm.
So I would just feel better with everyone having a voice on there. So
No, I think that's the most important takeaway from a lot of this is you have people vote, and hopefully you hope that all of this, how, from whatever perspective it is, if it's chaos for you or if this is, the great change, great reset, whatever craziness is going on, you hope that people become more involved in the process itself, and that includes finding out about who they're putting into positions. Because how many people are like, oh yeah, sure, I voted for city council, but like over the course of years, like the effect doesn't feel like it was as major as it has been in the last year. The decisions the city council is making now, maybe you notice something like, oh yeah, we're going to put a stop sign up on off of Claremont over here, and maybe if you live in that area, you notice that. But when it comes to like affecting personal choice, if you're a business owner, in the city or in the county, and you're feeling the effects of, well, people don't come in because of this, or I don't.
well, businesses have been shut down for good. Like there's businesses that have gone out of business for good.
Yeah.
In the city of Eau Claire this last year, and that's sad. Especially if you look at the actual numbers, the COVID-19 numbers for the Eau Claire County. I don't know if that they warrant, I'm hesitant to say, but I don't know if that was warranted, literally putting people completely out of business, people losing their jobs. I know people personally that were out of work for months and were able to even get unemployment. It was a really bad year. It was a bad year for a lot of people. So
yeah, I'm gonna throw a couple of comments that we have up here. Don's still on. We need equal representation of the people, not this one-sided crap we have now. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, Don. Not going to disagree with you.
Right. It's like I said, one-sided. Oh, there's somebody.
Yep. Thanks for representing the people of Eau Claire, Kyle. Got some thumbs up and some number one. So that's.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and when you're seeing a poll on one of our major news networks that says 63%, I mean, that's just the last time I checked, of people that don't want this mask mandate.
Right.
Like that's pretty huge. Like if I was on the city council, I'd be like, I better not vote for this,
Yeah, especially when it feels like those who would be really pro-mask and really be pushing for it would be the ones who be like calling everybody like, take this poll, like get on, we gotta make sure the numbers are they're more enthusiastic. Where you're going to have people that are like, yeah, oh no, I think it's BS. I don't want to be a part of that. So I do think, even though obviously you have 6,000 people in a vote is nothing to scoff at. If you break down percentages, you probably should listen to some of those people, I would think.
Well, that's 10% of our population, actually.
Yeah.
It's about 65,000 people, I think, that live in Eau Claire, so it's about 10%. That's a pretty good measurement, of the public opinion out there. And I found out that it's not even about the masks completely with a lot of folks that I've been talking about. They're kind of worried what comes next. It's like, if we're doing this and we're allowing this type of control on an individual, it's one thing for a city to say, hey, we're issuing you a business license to run a restaurant in our city. Here's our standards,
right.
Or maybe here's, what the health department wants. You got to have a stainless steel sink, or, so many square foot in your bathroom and the handicap access, right. Normal stuff, but it'd be one thing for the city of Eau Claire to say, hey, if you do not follow these guidelines, we're not going to issue you this license, So that's one topic. And I'm sure the other Kyle,
yeah.
probably got into that more than I am. But anyways, there's regulation on that side of things. But when you have the city regulating what I do as a person, walking down the street, it's starting to get to be a bit much, in my opinion, and that's the opinion of a lot of people, and they're more concerned about what comes next,
Yeah,
so it's not necessarily about the mask; it's about what comes next. And I actually have a little thing here I printed off. Tommy, I don't know if you know Tommy Lawrence.
Yep.
But anyways, she says this. She says, some of y'all have gotten so comfortable with tyranny, you don't even recognize it anymore. The government is closing your business, mandating what you wear in your face, where you can travel, who you can see, and how many people you can invite to your own home is tyranny. So she said. So, yeah, we've gotten so comfortable with it, we don't even recognize it anymore. So I also printed off a couple other things here too in Dane County. Did you see this in Dane County a couple weeks ago? The health department filed a 119 count complaint against the studio over the Nutcracker performance. Gave everyone a $200 fine because they had too many people in the studio and they weren't wearing masks. Well, it turns out they only had 10 people in there at a time and they were wearing masks. But they just, oh, well, you're all getting a fine anyway. So, it's just, I think it's an overreach and I think it's a slippery slope. The order, I'll read this out of the article. The order the studio is accused of violating in Madison was Emergency Order 10, number 10, was issued on November 17th, and prohibits in-person school for all, most students. It also bans indoor mass gatherings of any size, defining such a gathering as a planned event with a large number of individuals in attendance, such as a concert, festival, meeting, training, conference, any gathering at all. So I don't know if you're familiar with the First Amendment.
I've read it.
Yeah. It is a complete violation of the First Amendment. Yeah. So it's like, it's just really getting out of hand. So I thought I'd print those off. But, I would hate for things like that to start happening in Eau Claire. If you have a business and you want to run a business and people want to shop there, hey, by all means, post something on your door, saying what the risks are and whatever. But hey, if you want to run your business and you want to assume the risk and people want to shop there or eat there and they know what the risks are, then I think that should be their choice to do that, and if you're so afraid of the COVID-19 or whatever, if you're afraid of a car accident, don't drive, right? If you're afraid to go to the restaurant and get COVID-19, then don't go to the restaurant, stay home, TV dinners, right? So, I would just rather err on the side of individual freedoms and liberty than government overreach. So
Right.
yeah,
Obviously, a lot of this is the hot button stuff right now. It's the issues that are I don't want to say they're plaguing us. I mean, for small business owners and for those who are kind of fed up with the directive of being told what to do and how to live and all that stuff. Um, what are some of the other things that you, at least from your perspective, as you look at what the city council, local government is doing? What are some of the other like bigger issues that you want to maybe bring to the forefront? Because it does feel like nowadays it's all COVID. Like all of our, obviously all the illnesses have gone away. Everything, like there's no flu anymore, which is great. I guess we eradicated the flu, but like what sort of other?
awesome if that's true.
Hey, we got rid of the flu. Um, but what other things are you, as you look at how the city's being run, how things are being handled? What are some other things that you're going to bring to the table when you get in there in April?
Well, one thing I'll bring up quick, and this is something that's going to completely surprise everybody, probably. But you know how everyone complains about high taxes in Eau Claire,
Mm.
property taxes and all that. Well, one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is there are certain developers in the city of Eau Claire that like to build buildings downtown and wherever, and the Eau Claire City Council will give them a TIF district. So, do you know what a TIF district is?
Do not.
Okay, well, a TIF district is where you have an undeveloped part of town or maybe a rundown part of town
Mm.
that no one's going to build anything there. No one's going to develop that area or repair their homes or anything like that. For an example, are you familiar with the RCU building is
Yep.
downtown there in Phoenix Park? Okay, so I don't know how long you've lived here or anything, but if you were here years ago, that was just barren wasteland essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an old power company that was there at one
Yep.
time. And it was just, the soil was bad. It was just, pollution and just cement chunks and rebar sticking out of the ground. And it was just a mess. Okay. So what the city of Eau Claire did is they made that area there a TIF district. And what that does is that incentivizes builders to develop that area, and it rewards them by not charging them property taxes.
Mm.
So when they built the RCU building there, and this is just all kind of off the top of my head, I don't know all the details. But anyway, so if you fact check me, I might be off a little bit for all the haters out there. But honestly, though, off the top of my head, so RCU builds a building there, for an example. They
Yep.
don't have to pay property taxes for maybe 10 years, 15 years, however long, whatever the agreement is. And however, the city assessor will assess the property, and let's just say RCU is worth, the building there and the property is worth $5 million, for an example. Okay.
Mm.
Well, that will raise the value of the property of our city, and which will raise the levy of which the city can tax everyone. So the catch, though, is the extra taxes on that value is put on everyone else, not on the builder of that building. So I'm giving you this as an example because I will say this, the RCU building in Phoenix Park in that area there is a great example of a proper use of a TIF district. Okay. Because like we agreed, there was just nothing there. No one's going to build anything there. No one has a reason to. It's over, right? This area is just, it's a dump, essentially.
Dump. It was a dump.
But what we've had happen in recent years, I'm not going to mention names, but anyways, is someone will build a building, I'm not going to say the name, but they will build a building somewhere, maybe downtown, right in the middle of a booming area, and the city council and whoever's in charge of this will make that, just like literally right where that building is, a TIF district, so that that person does not pay property taxes on that improvement of that property. So, and then in the end, all of our taxes go up on all of our properties. This particular person does not pay taxes. So kind of weird going on there. So that might be something you may want to look into. So how it works, whatever the value of all of our properties are, is that's what determines how much the city can tax us. And that raises or lowers the levy is what they call it. So that's something that, I mean, there's things that people don't realize, and we complain about high taxes, we complain about all sorts of things, but then we don't realize that there's millions of dollars of improvements going on around the city, and these people are not paying the property taxes on that. We are paying their property taxes. So that's just one interesting thing that I would like to bring to the table, is just say, hey, maybe let's not do that anymore.
maybe we could get some of that money from these businesses that are building down there, and it's all
probably not going to happen. But moving forward, I would just propose that we just use the TIF districts properly, and not just do favors for our friends so they don't have to pay property taxes.
And you've seen in the last 5 to 7 years the explosion of downtown, and the renovation and all the changes, and if you it's not maybe just those two buildings. I'm sure there's more buildings that have been put up in these areas specifically because there's been an enormous amount of growth down there.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, there's some areas, I mean, I think it's appropriate. It's like, hey, let's incentivize developers to come into this area and revitalize our downtown, or there's nothing wrong. It's a great idea, and there's nothing wrong with that particular policy, but it's just, I think it's been misused a little bit.
Perhaps
that's one of the things. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the high taxes in Eau Claire is one of the things that you hear a lot about.
Yeah.
So
feels like perhaps there's some favoritism going on.
Right. Yeah, and everyone talks about, a referendum, raising taxes. Should we raise taxes? Should we not raise taxes? The newsflash is when these guys are building these buildings, and this is going on, our taxes are going up. They're going up. It's just that you don't think they are. People don't realize they don't realize what's going on. And when we talk about a referendum or raising taxes, we're talking about raising the percentage of or how much we can tax based on another number, of value. You know what I'm saying? But what people realize is there's all this stuff going on in the background that is raising our taxes, and they don't know why it's happening. Not everyone. I'm not implying that no one knows. There's people that know, but it is something that's not commonly known. So,
right. Well, it's not something that anybody's really bringing to the conversation. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like those those meetings happen in closed doors, and they're like, we'll be behind this door.
Right. Yeah. They're public, and some of them are not. Yep. So that's when the non-public one is when they're voting on that. Probably.
Interesting.
So,
hey, Kyle, thank you so much, man, for taking some time out and joining up on the show, and all the insight and the great stuff. And KyleWoodman.com is the website, correct?
Yes, sir.
Got some great information.
I put it on my sign. I forgot. Lesson learned.
It's tough reading a sign if you're driving by it. What was the website again?
No website. No, but the website is KyleWoodman.com.
Awesome.
And you can find me there. Find me on Facebook. Just search Kyle Woodman anywhere. Almost, you'll probably find me. And if you want to have me on anytime, closer to the election or anytime, just let me know. And like I said, you're invited to my event. So I'll let you know. I'll send you a text or something on that. So
yeah, man, get a hold of me and come back on anytime. I'm sure there'll be many more topics to discuss. Even it seems like at least weekly, if not semi-weekly, there's always something new where you go, hey, wait, I have some questions about what's happening right now. So,
yeah, thanks for inviting me on. This was awesome.
No, man, take care of yourself. My best to the family. And let's get you back on here sometime soon, all right?
Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. I really appreciate it. It is Kyle Woodman running for Eau Claire City Council. That is coming up April 6th. But don't forget, like you said, he's they got those mail-in ballots and stuff now. So it could start as early as the beginning of next month. So make sure that you're paying attention and cognitive and looking at all the issues all the stuff that's going on. Well, I see some questions in here. I'm sorry, like I said, we're operating on a different system today, uh, as the home computer decided today wasn't the day. Probably got sick of the cold, so trying to remanage on a different system here today. But a lot of great questions in here. I'll jot them down and we will get to them next time that we get Kyle back on here. So we're going to take a short break. Be back. We got more to discuss. Cooperville Live. Thank you all for tuning in, no matter what platform you are on: Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. More to come in just a bit. All right, we're back, and again, doing the live thing on the backup today, thanks to Kyle Woodman. Kyle Woodman's running for Eau Claire City Council, for being on the show. Great conversation, great insight, lots of good stuff from Kyle. KyleWoodman.com is the website. Also look for him on Facebook, find out more information about him. We're going to get him back on the program before the election, which is coming up on April the 6th. So look for Kyle to be back. Yes, nailed it. Lots of stuff we were going to get to today, but just because of the fact that we're running on the backup and things are a little slower, a little not quite as streamlined as they normally are, we are going to wrap up the show early today, but do want to encourage you that tomorrow I know she's working on a bunch of new music. She was out in LA working on stuff. Came back, is back east, and she found herself both places where there's not much snow, I guess. So kudos to her, I guess. So Rachel Loren will be on the show. Also coming up tomorrow, it is Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Wickman. He is going to be on tomorrow as well. We got a full hour with Jonathan. Lots of stuff to talk about as he's making his run at the governor's office in 2022, which seems like it is, well, it's next year, but lots of interesting things that need to be discussed as we roll through and get ready for that. So that's coming up tomorrow. Make sure you check all the social media accounts for all the info, and we will be back again coming up on the show tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in and putting up with our technical difficulties. We'll be back sooner than later.